All right, everybody. We'll start the June 6th meeting, which is the open-themed competition meeting. And okay, he's going to adjust this sound. Is that better? Okay. All right. So the first thing I want to mention is that the next competition meeting would have been on the 4th of July. And so we're not going to meet on the 4th of July. We're going to meet on the 11th. But everything to do with the next two competitions are going to be set up the way they would be if we met on the 4th. So I don't want to change anything. If we change stuff so that we start turning things in after the meeting, then we don't have enough time. It throws off all the schedules. So the next competition is monochrome photography. The results will be here on the second Thursday on the 11th. But the submissions will start technically tonight, but tomorrow. And voting will go through 19th through the 2nd. So we're going to close it just like we would normally close it if we were going to be meeting on the 4th. But none of the results will be made available online until the 11th. And then the month after that is macro photography. And the results for that one are going to be August 1st, but we're still going to start taking submissions on the 5th, but we'll still have a meeting on the 11th in between and still be able to take submissions till the 16th. So those are going to be at the normal times. That way you still have as much time to enter your pictures, and then the voting goes from the 17th through the 30th to be ready for the meeting on the 1st. So I just want to be sure that everyone understood what we're doing. Even though we're moving the meeting, we're not changing any of the stuff related to the competitions. Okay, next meeting in 2 weeks. We're going to have Carol talk to us, and it's about getting your work to the next level. All of this information is also on the website now. But you know, participating in the club can help you create better images. But what you do once you start amassing these images, you know, what do you do? And this presentation will help get your work to the next level, whether that's being shown in galleries or meeting clients or actually making money with your images. And now we will start the competition meeting. So first I will go through the images. In the basic category, we just had 3 images this time. Okay, thanks. You're gonna get the lights? All right, so Corvette, blue and white symmetry. Come on. Peony pepvetosa. And close encounter. Okay, so now we will look at them and the judges will comment on each one, and we're going to try something new and see if we can point out some stuff on the screen that they want to bring attention to with some new technology that's very old and may or may not work. Okay.
Ready? Okay. This thing on? Wow, that's fantastic. Yay. So I'm going to start with a couple of opening remarks here. I want to begin by reminding everybody that this is anonymous. We don't know who submitted these images. Yes, sometimes we guess, but it doesn't really matter. We do this with no knowledge of who has submitted any particular image. And that's a good thing, right? Because we're not calling your baby ugly, right? We're working with what is presented to us, and we are responding to what's presented to us. It's not our intention to be unkind. I know sometimes it comes across as unkind, and I think that as we're developing our work as photographers, that we have to develop a certain level of thick skin to be able to listen to what people have to say. But none of this is with malice, none of this is being unkind. We're not trying to be cruel by any means. That said, that we also aware that sometimes we come across as unkind. So I think I personally am going to try to temper what I have to say with that thought in mind, because I don't want to be a jerk, honestly. I want to say that out of the set of images in the open theme, we have a lot of really great stuff here tonight. There's a lot of wonderful material. There's a lot of opportunity to learn from this. We had a great time discussing various aspects of these, and so I think I'll speak for the three of us and say we hope that you get as much out of this as we did in our review of the images, because it was it's a good month. Okay, so that said, we're starting with Corvette Blue and White Symmetry. This one's mine. So we talked about this, and of course, we're going to have rebuttals from the other judges here, but I'll start by saying that the title's great. Love the title because it tells us what the image maker wants us to see, and that's really important, okay? Love the title. The color palette's fantastic. Blue and white, love it, okay? What I think I would like to see here is I'd like to see more focus on the symmetry, okay? When I look at this image, my eye tends to gravitate towards the cab, okay? And I see the headrests, and when I see those headrests, I see the steering wheel in front of the headrest, and there's no symmetry, right? There's no bilateral symmetry. I'm seeing not symmetric, even though I know that the maker wants us to look at that hood, those stripes, those lines, the seams, etc., and enjoy that. But I keep getting drawn up there because there's this lighter to darker thing that's really contrasty up on the top, okay? So I would encourage the maker to think about, and this is something I always have to work with myself. I've had people show me I get it wrong. Cropping. Crop this image down to something that distills the essence of what you want us to see. You can take part of the top off, take the bumper off the bottom. We don't care about the headlights on the left and right or the air intakes at the bottom. None of those things are really particularly interesting when it comes to symmetry, especially since the image isn't actually symmetric. We don't have the line of the car in the middle of the image. It's not even positioned precisely correctly. So I'd like to see it, at least that, lined up. And then I'd like to focus on what the maker can find to reinforce the title of the image. So I think that makes sense. I hope it does.
So I just want to, that's not too loud, I hope. So I just want to reemphasize that the title seems to matter. Even though some people don't really want the title, putting some thought into the title leads the viewer to what you want them to see. So pay attention to that. And, I agree with a lot of things that Gary said. He said crop it more. I could say we could put in some, have more into the photo, like the headlights seem to be kind of like missing for me. It's definitely not perfectly level in some respects. I see the lighting coming from the right, which kind of adds a three-dimensional view to it. But, nice treatment of a car, but I think we could do so much more. But this is a basic category, so lots to learn from.
Yes, I look at this kind of from the technical point of view, and it's clear that you could have backed off or cropped in to get a more symmetric.
I can't hear you.
I'm right up on the mic, Carol. You could have backed off or cropped in to get a little more symmetrical view of the image here. I know this was probably a really challenging environment. The lighting is both a friend and foe here in that the lighting isn't symmetric, but it also sculpts the body of the car. So when you're doing something that you want to be symmetrical, think about the lighting also. I think that's the next slide now.
This is Peony Ventosa. I was really impressed with this photo. I found it intriguing. I like the color palette where it's soft and realistic. I felt the photographer made a good choice in background. It's complementary to the color of the flower. I had to look up what Pep Ventosa method meant, and it is a multiple exposure photo which gives ghost-like shadows or impressionistic effect. This really adds to the appeal for me. It's almost better than what I would say a basic photographer would be accomplishing, so kudos to the photographer for doing this. I think improvements that I might have made is to do a square format crop on it, or just take out the vase at the bottom. But I love this photo. I think it's great.
Beautiful color, beautiful lighting on this. The base was distracting for me because I look at it and first of all, is it a vase or was it something stopped in time as it penetrated water? And that's looking at the small print of it. But nicely lit.
So the color is everything here. It's gorgeous. The technique, go look up Pep Ventosa. I think he actually describes on his website what he's doing, so it's not a secret. I think the maker has captured the style very well, and I think it works quite nicely. I appreciate and approve of the chiaroscuro lighting, if you will. I mean, it's reminiscent of that with just a very strong element of light here. I agree the cropping is for me not ideal because I want either more of the vase or less of the vase. So I did that, but overall the mood that the maker has created, I think is super, very successful. And I think they should explore this more because I think they've got some skills. So, yeah.
The skills are way above the basic level skills.
Yeah, we're promoting you pretty soon, whoever you are.
Right. A Close Encounter. I had to look up the name of it. I guess I could have read it off the screen. But this is an absolutely gorgeous image. I would be glad to claim it. It would compete well in the advanced class. The exposure from front to back is appropriate. There's very, very dark on the whale's tail. The flukes are visible. The barnacles are crystal sharp. The shutter speed was right because you can see the droplets of the water coming off the tail, but there's still a little bit of blur. The sky has color nicely exposed and is included as a major part of the image. As good as this image is, you start to look at it and say, is this perfection? And then you start to notice little white spots scattered out in the waves. And you say, is that ice? Is that a speck on the lens? So there's just little bits of cleanup that could be done to take this just to the next level.
So, yeah, beautiful image, super execution. I agree with the comments about the technical aspects of focus, et cetera. I appreciate the emphasis on the orange in the sky, the blue and the orange, blue and cyan. Just gorgeous. Great moment with the whale fluke. So yeah, overall, I mean, there's not a lot to criticize here. But yeah, the little white spots were annoying. Once you start to see them, you can't unsee them, of course. But yeah, again, someone's getting promoted.
I agree with what they both have said. I feel that they caught this at the peak of action, that they were in the right place at the right time. I can feel the thrill of actually being there. Beautiful execution of this photo. I also think that, yes, this person probably needs to go up a level.
Okay, since we have so few people in the basic category, we only have one award by the judges, and that will be first place goes to Leslie for the Close Encounter. they're not here today, so we'll just okay, they're off getting more pictures. Okay, and then for the viewer's choice, we have enough that we can have all three. So bronze goes to Clay. Did you want to say anything? You've got a microphone?
I'm going to have to get a Corvette with 2 steering wheels, Jerry. I can't help you, man.
Photoshop's cheaper.
But then you have a car that has no steering wheel.
Yeah, I'll change the title. No symmetry at all in this picture.
Silver goes to Colleen. And gold in the people choice goes to Leslie. Okay, now in intermediate, we're getting more images almost every time. So this time we got 15 images. So we'll go through them quickly once. Olympic long jump practice, smoke on the water, contemplating a bad hair day, abstract reflection, solitary wonder, show-offs, nick of time, face of the scrapyard, 3 amunkios, hill country vista, cooling off, golden beacon, a brawl, flora and fauna, 60 seconds old.
Okay, so Olympic long jump practice. Now that I'm hanging out with you birders, I'm having to go look things up to make sure I know what I'm talking about. This is apparently a painted bunting, right?
Painted bunting.
Painted bunting, okay.
Male.
Pardon?
Male.
I'm assuming it's colorful, it's going to be the male, right? Things I think are very successful about this image. First of all, the color is great. It's just bright and lively. For me, no sense of oversaturation, so I think it's honest, which I think is terrific. I think that the line formed by the rock that it's on is very interesting and dynamic. The attitude of the body and the feet coming in where he's landing is super. I personally like the gone background that's all blurry. I think that's terrific. Yeah, I think lots of great stuff here. I feel like the image is soft. When you look at it and pixel people a little bit, there's nothing here that's really super sharp. So I feel like this is probably a crop, a really tight crop from a much larger image, and so we've lost some resolution and maybe it got upsized without being sharpened. I don't know, but for me that takes away from the impact of the image, because I personally am not left with the impression that the maker intended it to come across as soft. I could be misreading it, and that's on me, okay? But overall, I think a terrific moment. So lots of really successful elements in here. I'm curious as to who this was, and I want to hear more about it.
And I agree with what Gary said, except that I didn't really see the sharpness the same way he did. I kind of thought it was sharp, so I don't know if that's my monitor or eyes or what it is, but I thought this is a very nice photo, and I didn't see anything to comment bad about.
I see Gary's point on sharpness, and as you even look at the rock that the bird's going to land on, there's just a lack of definition there, and that's in the same plane as the subject, so you would anticipate it being sharp edges on the stone. The other thing is I always look for motion and the gesture. And this is an interesting one, but there's probably a few milliseconds earlier or later that might have been a better image. Touchdown would have been ideal. So this is a case of if your equipment will do it, shoot, and shoot some more. Get the best gesture you can capture. I think that covers it.
This one's mine, Smoke on the Water. I thought this was a wonderful capture of smoke or fog. There is interest from the shore and the forest that leads the eye also deeper into the photos, on up into the buildings on the hill. I think it behooves a landscape photographer to get some movement of people's view through their photo. This, to me, felt a little over-processed, highly colored. The blues of the water and sky seem darker, more intense than I would expect naturally to occur, and they don't quite match up. The foreground on the right, on the shore, also seems more golden than normal. I was contemplating maybe if these were toned down, that might make a better image.
The colors just seem a little less than natural in here for me. And I think that once you see the rectangular shapes in the background, you keep going back and saying, what's back there? So those would be best removed in my mind. That way you aren't pulled away from what I think is the subject intent, which is that point there that's pretty clear and sharp.
So a couple of comments I'll add to that, what they said. So I think it's terrific where the light's coming in from the left. We're not getting any harsh shadows or anything, and obviously if there's mist or smoke here, then I'm assuming it's early morning, so I think that's terrific. For me, that blue band at the top is unnecessary. So I think some cropping here would be helpful. If this is, I want to say a 4x3 crop, could have been a 2x3, maybe make it a little bit shorter and wider. So I would encourage the maker to consider playing with the crop, thinking about what elements are really necessary for the image, because we are talking about the mist/smoke, not the sky. For my eye, I feel like the blue is pushed. It's oversaturated. It breaks down the top, and I feel like it breaks down in the middle a little bit. So I think we've pushed the saturation a little too far, and so I would encourage I learned this when I was learning how to mix audio and music. When you're doing reverb, you turn the reverb up until you hear it, and then you back off. So with saturation, same thing. Turn it up until you see it, and then back off, right? You don't want too much. You want it to be there. You don't want it to hit the viewer in the face. So to me, this is a little much for me, okay? So, but yeah, a great moment. I'm curious to know where this is. A cool space.
Contemplating, pardon me. Contemplating a bad hair day. Clearly the title and the subject go together. The face of this bird is nice and sharp. The eye is in focus. The bill is easily picked out and in focus. The background is blurred enough that it is clearly in the background, isolates the bird. The wind is moved a few feathers around, which you'd expect. But then as I look at more of the bird, I see this dark area on the feathers, which isn't getting light. It's obvious that it is in the dark, but it seems like it's been manipulated in a little darker and a little blue compared to some of the other shadow areas in the image. But very nice timing and nice get in there with that long lens and capture the subject.
Oh, that's me.
Yes.
Sorry,
Whoever wants
round
to
robin
speak.
here. Come on, get a move on. Okay, so what he said, yeah, I'm a big fan of the attitude of the bird looking to the right with the wind coming from the left and the feathers and stuff. The title is perfect. So great choice of title for the image. Background blurred out, fantastic. Always a big fan of bokeh. I think those shadows on the bird are too deep. I think they could be softened a little bit because I feel like the bird's lighting feels a little bit harsh compared to what the background might imply. So I'm not sure there's a balance there. So I would encourage the maker to kind of play with that a little bit, kind of playing with the highlights and the shadows to see if you can kind of smooth things out and have less contrast overall, and then add the contrast where you need it, like that gorgeous beacon eye. It's fantastic. So yeah, lots of wonderful elements here, and starting with, again, the great title.
Ditto to everybody, everything that they said. Good eye contact, nice pose and positioning, sharpness in the critical areas, beautiful bokeh. This title gives the photo a story. So if I can add my interpretation, she appears to be daring you to make any comment about her hair today.
Yes.
So great execution.
Back to me?
I think that's you, Gary.
Yeah, this is me again, okay. Okay, so first of all, I'm gonna say yay an abstract, because I am a big fan of abstracts, and I saw this and I thought, great, somebody actually submitted an abstract. So I was thrilled to see this, just on principle alone, okay? Not the least of which is that the title uses the word abstract, so it's fine. But the title also says reflection, abstract reflection, okay? And for me, if you back up enough of this, I was pretty sure, my interpretation is that this is water that we're looking at. This is a reflection of something on water, okay? We're looking down at a body of water, and we've got trees and grass and whatever reflecting on that, and then of course some work has been done in post to create this effect, whatever it is. I'm not familiar with this one, so I can't comment on what it is precisely. I'm thinking there's a horizon line on the 2/3 up point. I feel like there is. So I feel like I'm looking at a landscape, okay? But it's abstracted so that out the color and the mood, not the things. And I feel like the maker was very successful in getting that across to the viewer, okay? I think the color palette is very strong, and I really appreciate that. And I think that the maker was successful in going just far enough and not too far. But again, my opinion, I like abstract, so that's me.
The color palette is very nice. I like the creams and the greens and the dark greens. It's almost looking at conifers, looking into the background of rock. I see a line of symmetry down the center. I'm just not sure whether that's symmetry in a forest or what it is. But the image is pleasing, and it's something you would like to have displayed.
Agreed with their interpretations. Solitary wonder. My initial is this takeaway from this is just how small we are in relation to the universe. The sea lion gazing up at the glacier or iceberg towering above and out of frame gives me a sense of this wonderment. Hang on. The cracks in the ice lead the eye from the sea lion upward, and the colors feel natural and balanced. Initially, I did not see the sea lion at the bottom of the frame. I wonder if that could be cropped out or taken out.
Ty, can you highlight that sea lion at the bottom?
Oh,
Because I feel like it was a distraction. Come down.
just a second. Come on. go down.
He's right there. So I feel like when you're looking at this photo, it's a distraction. I mean, the title is Solitary Wonder, so that's another reason to maybe consider removing that animal. Also kind of felt like, and on further examination, that maybe there had been some removal of something just above the rock, between the rock and the water, which, I mean, taking it out makes good sense if there was really something there. It's hard for me to really know for sure. But I like this photo. I felt like it was successful.
I look at this image and I see two individual frames that could have been captured independent of each other. One, the lower third, which is just the sea line on the big rock, cut off where there's just gray water behind it. Nice, clean. There is this solitary warrior all by himself out there in the open. Then there's another absolutely beautiful image that could have possibly been shot in landscape, which is the iceberg in the background, excluding the other part of it. You know, you could go as far as replacing the sea line in the foreground and have a nice glacier image. Would it be?
Okay. Yeah, so now with the new AI stuff in Lightroom, it's easy enough to turn that sea line into a rock. So, you know, that could be done. Clearly to my eye, I could be wrong, because I've been wrong before. I feel like there are processing artifacts on the upper right side of the big rock next to the sea lion. So there's some things there that catch my eye and bother my eye. Overall, beautiful colors in the ice, the glacier, and I think the maker was very successful in putting us in the scene. Giving us context, which I really appreciate. I think that's always a very important thing in something like this. And so I'm there, and I'm loving it, but I'm with Bill in that this is two separate images for me. The taking the crop from the top of the sea lion up is one image, and the sea lion down is another. You could have done you could get some great portraits of the sea lion by itself, etc. There are a lot of different ways to go here. I'm just not sure that the way we're seeing it fulfills the maker's intent based on the title, but there's a lot of wonderful stuff here, and the color is everything.
Show off. Clearly there's a show off in the center of this image. It seems to be lighted just for that yellow water lily that's in the foreground. There's interesting things in the background, the highlights coming off the bubbles in the water, the drops of water from the cascade above it. There's things that could or should be removed. This one stalk of reed that comes across one of the flowers in the background is just,
Yep.
can you get it, Ty?
Oh, just a second.
Yeah, it's not going to, there you go. See it
That-
across the flower, it's just a distraction. It would probably edit out pretty nicely. The pink flower in the foreground is interesting, though it doesn't have the brightness that the first yellow flower has. You may have been able to correct that in post. But as it is, the pink flower dominates it, but isn't the brightest item in the frame. So you keep going away from the pink to the yellow. Who wants it next?
Okay, yeah, so this is, I really appreciate and enjoy what I think the maker was trying to do here, which again, to create a mood, and I think they've done a good job in creating a mood. you know, from the beautiful color in the lilies to the specular highlights in the fountain and the bamboo over here, lots of wonderful elements, but compositionally there are some challenges here. I would encourage the maker to have worked to the scene, move left, move right, move around, and see how you can see it. Get that separation from the elements, get that yellow lily on the left out from behind the pink one. Let's have more of that waterfall, right? Combine the vertical lines of the waterfall with the vertical lines of the bamboo by moving to the right so that you bring them together, right? There are things you can do by repositioning yourself that might produce something that is more cohesive compositionally. But there's a lot of great raw stuff here, and I think the maker had a great eye in seeing that. So work the scene.
If this was my pond, I might be in trouble with it, but one of those flowers would be gone from the composition. And that would allow you to focus in on the one that has the nice reflection and the brighter light.
Don't cut down the flowers if it's not your own pond. That's what he would do. He'd just chop them down, the ones he doesn't want. But if it's not your own pond, don't do it.
Work the scene. Yeah, I appreciated the light that was coming into that center yellow flower, but I didn't really like the reed that kind of cut off our view of the other flower. The combination between the pink and the yellow behind it was distracting, but I don't know. I can't really add any more. These guys have pretty well critiqued this photo, I think. So.
Okay, this one's mine. So, Nick of Time. This image, for me, is about the chaos of the moment. It's not about the bird, it's not about the fish, it's not about the water or the trees. It is about the chaos of the moment. If you look closely, at least in what I was seeing when I was examining the image, the bird is soft. And which I think this was the one that was shot at like 2,000th of a second, and it was still soft. Yes. It was f2.8 and 2,000th of a second. So technically,
and I think the ISO was fairly low at that.
The ISO was low. So technically, I'm not sure what might have happened, but I don't really care. Okay, because I believe that. My takeaway from this image is that it is about the chaos of the moment, with the water flying, the bird having the fish in its mouth because for its next meal, the reflection of that in the water included in the image, the distance to the hill in the background or whatever along the shoreline, all this wonderful stuff in this image that creates a mood, creates a context that brings us to the place, and then the action is captured in a way that I think really tells us everything we need to know about what was happening in that moment. So lots of really strong elements here. Honestly, I don't see anything here that I would add to.
I think this is an incredible capture of the peak of action. And I really can see that reflection is so there, so clear. I'm amazed by how smooth the rest of the water is. I don't know if I could make any improvements in this other than, if you wanted the subject to stand out more, maybe tone down the background, but I don't even know if that's necessary. It's a great capture.
On toning down, the foreground lower right-hand corner could be darkened up a little bit. You might be able to select that easily and bring it kind of into the same levels as the rest of the water. This is such a nicely done mirror image reflection. It's split right down the middle. It's almost totally symmetrical. I am left wanting some more sharpness in the feathers.
Someone might be getting promoted again.
Face of the Scrapyard. Okay, the title definitely descriptive. This subject is nicely cropped. It leaves no doubt that this is a piece of machinery scrap, the peeling paint, the rust, the old hoses. This tells a story of a machine that has been used, has been useful, and I think the details are sharp. I don't see distractions in the composition at all. On my monitor, the reds and the orange just kind of hit me in the face, so it feels like it's oversaturated with those colors. Wonder if it could have been toned down a little bit to improve it.
I like the detail and the depth of this image. You can see how the machine was intended to work, the two wheels pressing in contacts. There's a little bit of a distraction in the upper left-hand corner. It could be just turned to black, a trivial edit, pull that distraction out of it. And, you know, I'm left with the same question the other guys have about, are those colors right? Are they even false colors that are chosen better than this? The orange and the rust on the arms, I'm not sure that that's not real, but it looks a little false. The red in the phenolic looks like it's weathered bright red paint. Go ahead.
Okay. Somebody's computer is up here making noise. So I'm going to agree with them that let me start. Compositionally, terrific image, super title, perfect. We know exactly where we are, what we're looking at. I think the selection of the compositional elements of the machinery, the lines, the circles, the choice to not include all of the large circle, all I think very successful to my eye. I'm going to reiterate the color question, you know, because the grays seem to be okay, but this red and orange for me is a little much, a little overwhelming. If it was saturated and the maker was interested in pushing the idea of rust, I will say that there are other ways to get rust across, one of which is lots of clarity. Okay, if you highlighted those elements and bump up your clarity and a little bit of dehaze, you can bring out that sense of rust because of the texture, not the color. Okay, so there's other ways to accomplish that goal. Now, I could be speaking out of turn. I'm just giving an idea. I'm curious to find out more about how this image was created. But again, lots of really successful elements here, aside from the color.
The three monkeys, that's me. I'm just one of them.
Monkey eagles.
But the first thing I see when I look at this is the brightness of the foreground in the lower left-hand side. That really doesn't contribute to the image of the monkeys. This is a case where you could have cropped in quite a bit closer and just had the three monkeys on a diagonal with very little foliage on either side of them or above them. And that would have given you an opportunity to diminish the bright yellow in the foreground. But probably the most important thing about this one is that we don't have the three monkeys looking at us. You really need to see the eyes, and just one little might have gotten all three of those monkeys to stare at you for a moment. I know they're not going to be there very long, but this is another place to use high-speed release and shoot, and shoot some more. And then you've got a lot of images to throw away, but you might have that perfect capture where all three are face on at you, and you can do a little bit with the edit of the colors to bring the greens into harmony. Next.
Okay. So what he said, I'm going to talk about the title for a moment. I appreciate the effort of the title. I think it's trying too hard to be clever. We know they're primates. Three Amigos is a title I think would have been more fitting, and for me would have implied more of a sense of a little troublemaking band of guys. Okay. But that's just me, again. I like the colors overall, you know, the brightness of the corner notwithstanding. And I think the monkeys are fairly prevalent. This image also is a little soft when you look at it closely, unfortunately. Yeah, it's like shoot, and shoot some more, and really work the scene to get that shot that really accomplishes your goals.
The monkeys are cute, but again, 2 out of 3 are not looking at the, or 2 out of 3 are looking at the camera. Would have been nice to see all 3 of them looking at you. So I have to agree with my co-judges about that. The sharpness is soft. The overall is soft. I think the sharpness actually falls in the leaves that are kind of behind those 3 monkeys. So, yeah, I totally agree with these guys about the critique on this photo. I don't know what's happening behind me.
We're talking about settings on the camera here, and if we remember correctly, this is a pretty long lens with a shutter speed that's not 1/4 the focal length. So if it was a 300 millimeter lens, it ought to be at least 1/250 or 1/500 for the shutter speed. I'm kind of, just hands-on experience for me with high-resolution camera, I'm going even doubling that. I'm going to 1,000th of a second here, assuming a 300 millimeter lens, just to get the sharpness in the image. Image stabilization helps, but it doesn't fix everything.
Yeah, we don't know which image it was. We take better notes during our review meeting so that we know which one it was. But one of the images of tonight had a very slow shutter speed and a very long focal length. And so we were talking about reminding people that 1/4 the focal length is kind of your minimum shutter speed, and you want to go faster than that. We don't know that it was this particular one, but at least one of the ones that we talk about being soft tonight suffered from that problem. Okay, so we wanted to remind everybody the technical point of paying attention to your focal length and what you're trying to shoot. Okay, I'm sorry about that.
Let's sneak around behind you.
Again.
Oh, it's back to me. Okay. Yes, okay. Hill Country Vista. So, yay, home base, right? This is awesome. Lots of great stuff here. I really appreciate it in this image. Okay, so if you look at this closely in this particular image, you're going to see that the flowers up front are in focus, and the focus gets softer as you get down to the horizon, right? This is not a sharp front-to-back image. For me, I'm okay with that in this particular image because you've got this beautiful S-curve from the road leading to the horizon. You've got the horizon with the road framed by the tree. So compositionally, some really nice elements here bringing everything together. You've got these flowers in the foreground that reiterate our whole bluebonnet paintbrush thing here in Central Texas. I'm not a fan of the blue sky because I like clouds, but you get what you get, so whatever.
Or you change it.
Pardon?
Or you change it.
Or you change it, which I'm not a fan of that at all. I like being honest. But that said, the blue is an honest blue. I don't feel like any of this has had the saturation pushed. The yellows and greens in the foliage, I think, are representative of what we get here. And so there's a lot here that I just really enjoy, and I feel that this image was very successful in putting us in the place that the photographer found when they made this image.
I agree. What more is there to say? I feel that road really adds, again, it's a landscape and it helps you travel through the image. It feels like Texas, and Texas has blue skies and not many clouds many days. So, so I never even thought about the fact that it was no clouds, but I like this scene. I think the creator did a really good job. Very nice. Thank you.
Beautiful composition. If you care about the sky, there are answers. There's an app for that. But the thing that has bothered me about this is the shadow in the foreground, where I would like to have more light.
Can you hold it in front of your, if you turn your head away, you got to bring it around because they're having trouble hearing in the back.
I never saw them indicate they couldn't hear. Thank you, Ty. The point I was making was that the darkness in the foreground, even though it's the sharpest area, but it's not the brightest. And there's brighter areas behind it. This could have probably been addressed in edit or by doing an HD or multi-frame capture of this so you have the brightly lit foreground and can even out the exposure caused by the shadows of the trees.
Or step forward about 6 feet.
I think they were kind of pinned down by having the Indian paintbrushes right here in the front.
Right.
Which you need that little bit of red in the front foreground to tie it to the red in the background.
Also, it means they were in the shade. It's hot in Texas sometimes.
Somebody pass him a microphone.
No, he's got one. Okay. Okay. Was that everyone? I don't.
Nice balance. Let's
that
just
was-
say,
yes.
nice balance.
Yeah.
Cooling off is mine, and this is, as far as I'm concerned, a delightful capture of the blue jay cooling off on a hot day in the bird bath. The capture is at peak of action. This beautiful clarity throughout, the water drops, the eye, the feathers, just very nice. And the bokeh behind all of that is very pleasing as well and very nice. The water's an interesting color of gold. It probably reflects the bottom of the bird bath. I don't know if I would improve anything or try to work with that. Maybe making it more of a shade of blue to kind of coordinate with the blue jay would be appealing. But this is an excellent image.
I like the crop on this. Just missed the tip of the tail. If that's in the original, it would be worthwhile recropping to get that back in, just because it's part of that bird. Gary?
No, that thing that's talking is this, every time it's held down, it goes to sleep and it says, don't forget to take your dongle with you. And so my computer is just saying that because I'm using this really old presenter and it's trying to be extra smart and tell me not to leave the dongle behind. It doesn't know we're still using it, so it says something very quiet up here that everyone doesn't hear, but Gary hears it and it's irritating him. But that's what it is.
I don't have a whole lot to add. I'm with Bill on the unfortunate tip of the tail, but I think this is very successful in capturing action. So, kudos to the maker for that. Absolutely.
It's a shame you can't have two shutter speeds for this image, one for the bird and one for the falling water, so you could slow it down and show a little motion in it. But this is clearly the best choice. Stop everything. Okay, I own the review on this image, and it's called The Golden Beacon. I like the colors. I like the choices there. I like the background until you start to see the buildings along that line of mountains. I even like the haze in the background, the pink. But then as I start to go back through the image from foreground to the background, there's two bits of green that just poke up to the left of the center flower and to the right of the center flower. And once you've seen them, kind of like buildings in the background, it's hard to unsee them. Almost got it.
Come on. Oh, well, maybe I...
But
So
there
there's
you go.
one there.
Right there.
And then
That bit of green on top of the blue
and one
draws
over
my
there
eye
somewhere.
away. And then there's another one on the other side that does the same thing. So the choice of colors is nice. The choice of where the camera was placed could be improved because this first piece of yellow is almost center in the frame. And if you could move it to the side, get it a little bit off to one of the PowerPoints of the rule of thirds, that would be nice. This is time where rule of thirds will probably help to improve the image. Gary, you want to pick it up?
Yeah, so for me, terrific color. You know, I think when blue bonnets look like blue bonnets, it's successful, and I think that happens here. I think it's terrific. The cliff face, or whatever that is on the upper right, is a very strong element, and it has a very contrasty portion to it with the shadows to its right, okay? And so my eye keeps going back up there. The problem with this image is that the maker, based on the title, wants me to look at this yellow flower, whatever it is up front, and I keep looking at the cliff face. And so compositionally, I think that the scene should be worked more, okay? A repetitive theme here. Their border patrol is called for. There's a little yellow spot right on the edge below the cliff that needs to go away. That's distracting for me. But the orange glow is gorgeous, so I think that's fantastic. And the moment the light was ideal for capturing all of this in a beautiful way. So lots of great stuff here.
I too love the colors. The yellow brings me into the photo. I love the orange, rosy color of the sky. I agree that it could use a little bit better border control. I didn't even see the buildings in the back, so I'm not sure what to say about that. but you know, once you see the green weeds or whatever they are kind of interspersed in there, like Bill was pointing out, then yeah, you get distracted by those. But maybe a different work of this scene, better composition would have improved it.
A little pre-capture edit would be nice for those weeds.
But it's very beautiful, nevertheless.
Okay, so this is a great capture of a behavior that I've not witnessed before, a couple of animals going at it, and I think that's a cool moment. So I think that the title choice was perfect, and the image really represents the title, so super marriage there. Colors, fantastic. What I think is especially successful here is that the eyes of both animals are in the same plane. They're both sharp and in focus, and I think that's what you want in an image like this, because I don't think this is about one beating up the other. It's about both of them going at it together, fighting in somewhat matched situation. Great depth of field. The leaves in back being blurry but not blown out, I think works really well, so we have a nice context. For me, cropping is a bit of an issue here, because if I look at the left edge of that leaf over, I don't care about anything on that left side, right? There's nothing over there that is of any interest. We've already lost the leg on the left antle, right? The foot's gone, and that's a problem. And so it just seems awkward. So I would have gone with maybe a square crop here and lost half of the left antle. The right antle with his tail being where it is, I'm okay with that. Is it ideal? Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not too worried about that. It's okay. There's just so many other wonderful lines here, but I think there is some wasted space, definitely to the left, maybe to the right, so we could tighten up the crop and bring more emphasis to the subject. But overall, there's a lot of just wonderful stuff in this image, and I really enjoyed it.
I agree. This is an amazing capture of animal behavior. I think it's sharp in all the important areas, and I have to agree that a different crop would have been good. Losing the leg, it's amputated. That is a distraction and takes the eye right out of frame. So I agree. I think taking off the edge on the left, and then if you crop that, you might as well crop the bottom. Probably could get rid of the tail in another way and still maintain seeing the full body of the lizard on the right. So, and the green, that's nice, but it could be cropped out a little bit more, just closer. So, but kudos to the photographer for catching this action.
Just looking at this image, just technical on the image, the wood in the foreground seems a little bright for the rest of the image, regardless of how you crop it. But the other thing I keep coming back to is the thing we've said a couple of times is you need to shoot more. This is probably not the only frame that you could have captured with this lizard fight going on. They probably go at it for a while, and you might have been able to get a little better pose out of them with patience. The background where you can see structure but not detail is very nice.
Flora and fauna. I feel that this photo was taken at a festival or some type of an event where everybody got dressed up in costumes. I think the photographer was at the right place at the right time. He caught the lighting's very good. The umbrella facilitates the lighting on this woman's face, and I like the little star up by her eye and whatnot. And the eyes and the mouth all kind of give you this coy, playful look. I think it's great. Nice crop. The things that kind of bother me is a little bit blown out on the top of her fingers, and the flowers in her hair are a little bit blown out. But other than that, thought it was a really good capture.
This is nicely captured. When you first look at it, it just immediately draws you in to the smile and the eyes. I agree that there's some harsh light. It's probably some mottled light on this, just the one bit that got outward into direct sun on the hands. Nice control of the depth of field. As soon as you get away from her face and horns, there's a loss of sharpness that is pleasing. I like to see us capture people. We rarely capture people. Next.
Okay. So everything they said, I agree. The blowouts in the fingers and the flowers are unfortunate. So I think the light wasn't handled optimally here. Her expression is terrific. It's wonderful. So same subject, cropping. For me, the cropping is too tight. Okay, because I don't like the 2/3 crop here. I want an 8x10, 4x5. I want some space on left and right because it bothers me that the horn on the left is cropped, and I want more of that blue as a contrast to her skin tone. Right? We had a color scheme going on here, the classic color scheme, and it got lost because we lost too much of that umbrella, which could have done us a favor. And I want a little bit more space on this between the hand and the end of the umbrella and the edge of the frame. It's uncomfortably close to me. So I'm not loving that. I don't know what else is happening behind her, so I can't comment on whether it was even possible to do that well without a whole lot of post. I just know that from a portrait perspective, I'm a big fan of shooting with margin so that you have enough room around things so you can do different crops instead of being stuck with one choice, the original choice, as opposed to maybe an 8x10 choice or a 5x7 choice. But that's just me, just saying. But yeah, again, lots of good stuff here and a super moment.
Okay, this one's mine, and this is probably Bill's time to be mean. Just start with the title. Starting with the title. 60 seconds old, 1844.w2. or space 4x5. What do I make out of that bunch of numbers on the end of it? It doesn't tell me anything about the image. It's only a distraction. The image is shot in very harsh light. You don't have any option when you have this type of opportunity to shoot. You're going to have areas that are brightly lit, areas that are dark. You're going to have stuff in the background that is just over bright. The upper right-hand corner is just over bright and could probably be toned down. The whole background could probably be toned down in Lightroom to get better control of it. But this is a case where the creator chose probably the wrong point in time to capture this image. If you had stayed and watched this evolve, Mom would have gotten around to cleaning on the calf again. The calf would have come up and nursed. There's lots of animal behavior here to see. The one that we know always happens is the mom eats the placenta. We don't really need to see that when we have other much more interesting behaviors to capture. That's my 2 bits. Yes.
So what he said, so definitely on the same page. Aside from the awkwardness of extra stuff in the title, we assume the title is 60 seconds old. I don't believe it's a successful title in that we're not looking at the fawn, the baby. We're looking at Mom. All right, Mom dominates the scene. You look down there and you see the baby, but the baby's half in shadow and it's not big enough to really draw much attention. Okay, so I don't feel that the image successfully portrays or represents what the maker intended with the title, unfortunately. And everything Bill said, this, again, we have a theme tonight, like work the scene, right? Take your time, wait for things to develop, progress, and keep taking photos and see what you can come up with. So yeah, I think lots of potential here, and I'd like to see more work from this photographer and see what else they can do, because I think they've got some skill in finding, nice things in focus and interesting stuff, but it's like, let's develop that.
What they said, the title, if somebody doesn't know how to edit the titles in our visual pursuits, they can maybe ask for some help. I was trying to find all the positives in this. Both of the faces are visible in this photo. The horns are not cut off. It's got a nice crop. But I too was kind of bothered by the timing of the photo and feel like it could have been worked a little bit longer if they just waited a few seconds and take multiple photos. Bill also pointed out previously that the background is blown out. The shadows don't bother me so much, but the blown out background kind of distracts. So kudos for trying to get this shot.
Wait,
What?
we're still, oh no, that's advanced. Come on.
This is it. Now, we had enough this time that we have 4 images that were selected by the judges. So the first one is an honorable mention by Vance. Oh,
Nice landscape.
okay, just a second. That's by Apple. Okay, let's.
There it is.
Let me see if this thing is just gone to sleep. We'll try one more time. No? Oh, yeah. That landscape is a photograph. Okay, this is 3rd place by Rose. Second place by Jim.
Jim, can you give us some more details about your photo? Like, there should be a microphone someplace.
Sure. So this was taken 2 weeks ago. The reason it's a little blurry is I probably got the water, not the bird, coming back out. I was shooting at about 30 frames a second, and 2 frames in front of that, the bird was completely underwater. That's how fast it's moving. So either you get it or you don't. I probably spent almost a minute on this edit. Basically, I pulled it out, I did a little bit of sharpening on it, and then I did auto, and then I submitted it because I needed to get it in time. And then mostly, the reason I submitted this is because this bird, if you can barely see, there's a perch behind it, and the bird was sitting on that perch for a good 10 minutes, and the person next to me was focused on that bird for the whole 10 minutes, and was waiting for it to do, and I was taking pictures of other stuff in the background, there were monkeys and things, other things working around. And so then I got on the bird and waited about 20 seconds for it to hit the water and then come out, and I got the shot. And the person next to me did not get the shot because she had a too slow shutter speed. And that person was Nick Grossman. So I named it Nick of Time just to burn him just a little bit more.
All righty.
Thank you.
In first place, Arlie.
Okay, I was on a bird photographing, bird watching trip, and this is my not a bird photo because it really is the pond. I was sitting and I looked out and I saw this reflection and I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I decided to challenge and put an abstract photo into competitions. So I just kind of liked this filter that I found in Photoshop Elements and brightened it up with different colors and composition. And thank you for all your compliments on how well I did with that. So yeah, this one is a pond. It is a reflection. There is actually in the photo, there's a line of green reeds that are up at the top, but I decided to crop those out for the competition. So cropping, composition, whatever, exposure, etc. So it was fun to do, and then I kind of enjoyed doing that. And yeah, I think we could use more abstract. I didn't know how it was going to be received because I know that we're a group of technical people who tend to like things discreet and whatnot. So, but yeah, thanks.
And now, just to show how many good images we got 5 images to show out of just 3 places. And there were just, this is the people's choice, and this is how the numbers turned out. So we end up with 5 images. So tied for bronze, Charles, would you like to comment about this?
Okay, what is it?
Okay, what it is actually, I was at the Illinois Railroad Museum, and some of you kind of know that I like railroad stuff. One of the weird things I like to do is wander around the backyards that they have, because every single railroad museum I've ever been has junk piled everywhere, okay? So this, as near as I've been able to tell, is a contactor assembly from an old trolley, okay? What actually happens is how fast it goes, that thing rotates, and the contactor, you can see how it's making contact on either side. That's telling it what speed you are. And yeah, it is cropped in quite a bit. And yeah, okay, it's probably a little oversaturated, but you know, I want to make it striking, and apparently it is. But yes, it's it's out back behind the Illinois Railroad Museum, and you can probably still find it there, because you know, every time you talk to them, they tell you, well, we're going to build a new warehouse and try and get all this stuff undercover. Yeah, right.
Another one for bronze, Jim. And another bronze in the People's Choice, Arlie. Silver, Cody.
Okay. set.
Thank you. Yeah, this is at Muleshoe Bend. I heard there was bluebonnets out there, so I went off and did it. Yeah, I spent a lot of time walking around trying to find the right background because it was tricky because there are a lot of houses on the back. This one had like there's a lot of poles and stuff that I did edit out. And I did spend time trying to figure out where to place the flower. I tried it because I thought, oh, they're not gonna like it in the center, but I liked it in the center. So I put it off on the side. I'm like, nope, I like it where it is. So anyway.
And he's the creator.
That's that.
Okay, thanks. And the gold medal goes to Rose. Okay, now our last group is the advanced group. We'll go through the images quickly, and then we'll have the judges discuss each one. Up periscope. Whistle while you duck. A touch of purple. Mingus Mill. The hidden entrance. Floating on the clouds. And toothsome chap. Okay, now the judges will talk about them.
All right. Okay, so up periscope. This is a super capture with a limited color palette. The greens and purples in the flowers are terrific. It makes the great egret pop. And that's, I think, just exactly what you want in trying to catch a behavior. It's not a portrait, of course, but this behavior is like, I'm assuming we're out fishing, trying to find dinner. The profile is super with the emphasis on the neck and the head and the beak. So lots of great stuff here. At the risk of sounding like a broken record, this needs to be cropped. There's a lot of wasted space here. The gray in the water is unnecessary. The dark gray at the top, mostly unnecessary. And then the greens and the purples, beautiful as they are, because they are gorgeous, but there's a lot of it, and we don't need that much. You could take off space on the bottom, the left, the right, and the top, and really tighten this up. You can get its eye on a 1/3 point, basically. And if you do that, it turns out there's a bee in this image at the top. I don't know if you saw that, but there's a bee in there, and you can leave that right at the top of the image as an Easter egg. So cropping this and tightening it up would be, I think, a great way to improve what's already a good image. Okay, and don't get me wrong, this is a good image, but it could be really good just by tightening it up to focus on your subject, that great egret.
I thought it was clever, a clever title, good capture, sharp. I love the contrast. When we were doing our, what do we call that? We talked together to kind of
Judges
align
conference.
everything. Yeah, our judges conference. Thank you. Gary showed us a different way to crop this, and it really did change the perspective on this photo. So consider that next time. I just think it's nice. It's very, very nice. Very successful.
Just looking at this as it's cropped, there's distractions in the lower right-hand water plant interface, just brown globs. And the crop takes care of that for you. You don't even have to edit it out once you tighten up the crop. But the bird behavior is just beautiful. Boop, here I am. I'll duck in a moment. And by the way, the up periscope as a title works nicely.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
It
Yes.
does. Okay, whistle while you duck. I don't get the title. I'm sorry, but this doesn't portray what the title is trying to tell you to do. The duck is sharp, it's a good depth of field. The foreground and background are just a little soft, which is fine for something like this. Nice capture. It's just, I'm looking for something a little bit more interest, and especially trying to figure out where the title leads me.
I just find my eye wandering down in the foreground and saying, what am I looking at under the duck here? Is this important? Do I need to understand where the duck is as part of this image? So it kind of lost the focus on the duck for me.
Yeah, so we've got cypress knees here, right, knees? Cypress knees, okay. I always have trouble with that one. The duck is sharp, it's great, the colors are fantastic. You know, the light is bright, but I think reasonably diffused, and so that's all really quite nice. You got the cypress knees for some interesting texture, and you've got the water at the bottom, but honestly, again, crop, because I don't really feel like the water line or anything in the bottom third of this is particularly interesting to what we think we're supposed to understand from the title given by the maker, okay? So I think about everything in the image that you've created, does that support the intent of what you are envisioning?
And this is an advanced category photo, so we have a little higher expectation of what's presented, if I might say that.
But we're still not going to be mean, right?
We're trying not to be mean.
Trying
though.
not to be mean, but yeah. Not mine.
I will review this one or start the review on it. The color is just stunning. The orange and the purple, the touch of purple on the edges of it. The maker chose the place he focused on this flower to have the two brighter yellow orange petals frame the center one. The purple on the edge is nice. The background is appropriately blurred out. The flowers and the tips of the petals, so the tips of the petals and their purple are very nice. I would have liked to have seen a little more detail and brightness in the core of the flower, the upper left-hand corner, but that's the only thing there is to be negative about or ask for, is to have a little more detail up there where I know there's lots of detail.
I like this a lot. The color palette is just stunning to me. The contrast of the green background to the orange in the flowers, and then that touch of purple, just stunning. I think it's very good crop choice. Compositionally, I think it really works for me. I know that that's the center of the flower up in the left upper corner, so I guess I never gave it any thought as to whether there needs to be more detail or not. But I just think the maker had a lot of good choices that he made for this photo.
Yeah, basically what they said, and I'm on board with Bill in that the flower center could be brightened up. Do we want more detail? Do we not want more detail? I don't know what the right choice is there, but it is dark, and maybe it doesn't need to be quite so dark. Okay, this one's fine, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, yeah. Okay, so this is, I'm immediately in the Appalachian Hills, right? It's a sawmill, or it's a mill of some kind. I think that the composition here is really super. There's water falling, and it's soft, so we know that it's a long exposure, right? We've got some blur. And if you look at what I'm calling a sluice, I'm not sure what the name of this thing here is, the trough, but if you look at the water on the left, you can see some of the surface, and it's very smooth as well. So we've got a long exposure here, but I think there's just really nice leading lines for the structure here. The texture is really nice, leading back to the waterfall and the building on the right, and you've got all this wonderful texture behind it with the trees, and this texture in front with the dirt. So lots of really strong elements here. It's flat. Okay, there's no other way to put it. It's not contrasty, and for me, I want to see contrast. I want to know what the maker wants us to look at, and what I'm looking at is the bright trees in the background. Right, that's the bright thing's going to attract my eyes, because we go first to highest contrast, then we go to the brightest thing. That's what our eye does, right? And there's nothing of high contrast here, therefore we go to the bright trees. I'm pretty sure that's not what the maker wants us to look at. So this is an example of it needs some work in post. I would encourage the maker to take that house, add contrast to it, brighten it up, clarity, give it some texture so that it's crunchier. Do something with
It needs
this.
a lot of work.
Pardon?
It needs a lot of work.
Well, yes, it does. I'm just offering some suggestions as we're looking at it so that people can think in terms of local adjustments. And when I did my presentation last year, I talked about local adjustments. This is an example of needing local adjustments. To take out one thing, and with Lightroom it's easy now with the object selection and masking. Pick out the one thing, work it. Pick out one other thing, the sluice, work it, okay? Add some filters, some radiant or linear filters to darken things at the edges and brighten them in the middle so that you lead our eye where you need it to go, and we're looking at what you want us to look at. And brighten that waterfall so it's the brightest thing and darken the background so it's not. Okay? Lots of potential here, but a great composition. I love what we've got here, and I'm there. Lots of goodness.
Agreed. The trough kind of brings you into the photo. It helps you, I feel like it's a tranquil scene that conveys working and history. I initially, not knowing a whole lot about infrared, thought maybe this might have been an infrared photo just because the background was kind of blown out. So my apologies, since I don't think that's really what the case is. A lot of contrast would be very much appreciated in this photo. It's nice that it's a monochrome treatment. So it's
Love
good.
black and white.
It works. It works.
Yep. Anything you want to add?
I'm content with what's been said about it.
Hidden entrance. This is mine. I like this photo. It is kind of dark. It kind of shows up dark on the screen as well. But to me, that kind of conveyed a sense of mystery and intrigue. Just like what's behind the door, what's going on here. The action is long gone or coming up. We don't know which way to go. I like the perspective of the, just the part, we can tell that this is a church. I know this is a church because I was there too, but you can see the candelabra, you can see the type of stained glass. I think the maker did a very good job of not blowing out the windows because from being there, that was much a challenge. It was very bright outside. So kudos to the maker for that. Let me see if there's anything else. I'm not really distracted by the candelabra, but some others might be, that might think that it's extraneous. And
We had issues.
I didn't have any problems with it, but I wish I had had this perspective and had been able to take a picture similar to this.
I like the dark with the bright window, but I think the dark may have been overdone a little bit. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of that white candle and the whatever we call it's mounted in, so that you see everything there. But it doesn't have to be bright. It doesn't have to compete with the window, just a little brighter. Some of the lines are not vertical and parallel to the other vertical lines. So that would be straightforward to correct in Lightroom to get everything to be vertical and straight. But getting a little bit more information in the darkest part of this image is what I think it's missing to just take it up the next level.
Right, so in the same way the Greeks worried about perspective when they did the columns on the Parthenon, we have the same problem here, which is that we're down lowish and we're looking up, and those lines are going to converge in our eye, and so straightening them in post is helpful. And yes, the left side is vertical, it's the right side that's not, ever so slightly, but it's enough to be annoying because I'm looking at that candle, and it's candlestick, that's the word.
Yes. Sorry,
That's
you're
the
right,
word.
it's
Yes.
candlestick.
That candle is not straight up and down. And we talked about this the other night, and for me, it's bothersome. And I would have gone in and adjusted that personally because it bothers me. All that said, though, terrific mood, great scene. I didn't see this either. They talked about which church it was like. I didn't see it, but great find. I love I think the mood that is created with this is very effective. And like I said, I was there and I didn't see it, and I don't know how they saw this, but whoever did it was great. And I think there's an opportunity here that we could do some local adjustments. We could brighten maybe that candlestick a little bit and draw our eye to it, so we have some things to bounce around in here. A little bit more detail in some of the shadows. Possibly, I think some work could really add to this, but it's a great start, and it's a great perspective, great composition, just tons of goodness here.
There's so much that this image could be.
Yes, it's a great start, but it could be more.
And, hopefully there's other frames to go with this exposure so you can recover some of the details in the shadow. Just a hair more would be pleasing.
Yeah.
But don't make it crunchy or too bright in what are shadows here.
Cool.
Floating on the clouds. This is a case of where I want to see the other half of the mirror image. We're looking at the reflection in the lake, in the water, that is somewhere up above us that we're not seeing. When I see something like this, I expect to see, or anticipate seeing, the tree line reflected in the water. If you look in the upper right-hand side, it's a nice symmetric reflection of everything going almost to a vanishing point in the rear. That's a nice image by itself. We can't see it well on the screen, but we're looking right past these clouds down into the water at the rocks, which is nice. But I'm just lost. I keep wanting to see the rest of the clouds, the other half of this image. Go ahead.
So what he said, I agree that I don't think where the horizon lies is leading to the level of success that this image could have achieved, because I want to see more of those clouds up at the top. I personally like the line of trees on the right and the distance in the middle to left. I think that's wonderful. I'm not entirely convinced that it's level. I could be told otherwise. That if it was, the camera said it was, and that's fine. But I feel like it's just a tiny bit off. I think that the reflections are fantastic, very successful. I would question the level of saturation in the blue. I feel like it's a little pushed, but that's me. But I think there's a lot of really strong, wonderful, visually appealing stuff here. Again, working the scene and trying different crops and things like that. It's a broken record, right?
I love it. I also noted that this was an iPhone photo. Excellent capture. I don't need to see the clouds up above in order to appreciate that they're reflected down in the water below. And the water is clear enough that you can see that there's rocks on the bottom. I love the reflection of the trees. And yeah, the horizon might be just a little bit not level, but...
A little low on the left-hand side.
Yeah, but does it really detract? I'm not sure that it does. Though that would be something you could probably edit in post and stuff. But it's beautiful colors, beautiful capture, being in the right place at the right time. Yep. Awesome.
All right, and I'm doing cleanup here. So, Toothsome Chap. What we have here is a portrait of a walrus. Walrus? Sea lion? Walrus?
Walrus.
Walrus. Okay. I'm for somebody who watches nature as much as I do, I have trouble. I don't know why. So you got a portrait of walrus here, and The black and white is a great choice for me. I think it's it just alleviates distractions that the color would impart. So I think that that's a very super choice. The focus, plaintiff focus on his snout, tusks, and hitting his eyes, just barely, keeps the face in focus, and I think that's very successful as well. The lighter background, I think, being blown out with blur is great, and I think the lighter background works very well here too. I'm not a fan of the other walrus in front. Okay, I realize it's a walrus and it's nature and it is what it is, and so I think a case could be made that the other walrus is unfortunate. But that said, there's also a context here, and there's an implication. If we know anything about walruses and when they're on land, it's probably pretty crowded where they are. And these guys are up against each other. And so I could be okay with this other walrus here blocking part of the tusk and his view. So either way, is it perfect? I don't know if perfect would be the right word, but it's okay, okay? That said, texture, toning is great. I don't know that this kind of image requires a lot of contrast, so I think there's just enough here. So I think, yeah, lots of wonderfully successful elements, and I love that he's looking right at the camera. So good stuff.
I like the detail in the face, the mustache, if we'll call it a mustache above, off his nose. Those look just big and harsh and sharp in detail. I like the background being pretty much blown out, but just a little bit of texture in it. It could be a rock wall or more walrus. The one in front is a little bright for me. It would probably be reasonable to select that and tone it down, but I like the level of contrast in the whole image. Arlie?
I agree. We're up and close and personal with this walrus. We got good eye contact, sharp, there's good texture, contrast. I don't have any problems with the background, and I think it's good because we get a good definition of the walrus in front. The very front one is distracting, and like he says, there's probably nothing you can do about it because they do kind of pal around together pretty good in nature and stuff. But it's unfortunate that we weren't able to see all of the tusk, or maybe see more of the other walrus as well. Bill's point is well taken. I think that if you toned it down a little bit, and it might have not caused as much of a distraction. But overall, I think it's a very good image. Nice to be done in monochrome. Very nice.
All right, so we have, because of the number of images, we have 2 judges' choices. So we'll start with second place goes to Nick with the walrus.
Thank you. Yeah, this was taken in Svalbard last October. There were about 20 walruses wallowing around, huge beasts, about 2 tons each. And whilst I got lots of shots of lots of walruses and Arctic fox walking around in front of them, there was something for me just about isolating one of them and, as Gary said, keeping a bit of the foreground walrus there to show that it wasn't alone. But thank you.
Cool.
Come on.
Doesn't want to change.
And first place went to Gary.
Okay.
Would you like to comment on this?
So this was taken on a photo walk at Zilker Botanical. So hint, hint, get out. This was this is actually a 39 image focus stack that I put together. That's why it's in focus. It was done handheld. I was surprised I was able to pull it off, but the guys were with me that day. I agree with Bill on the center being probably a little too dark. Lots of purple there. I played with it when I got home or after our meeting the other night. and brought that up. But yeah, this was it's just a flower at Zilker, and just trying to think in terms of focusing on what was interesting about the flower, including those two little petals sticking out. But yeah, I dig flowers, and it was a great victim that day.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and now for the People's Choice Awards. The bronze goes to Nick with his walrus. Dennis with the floating on the clouds.
This was taken in Grand Mesa, Colorado, and I was out on a morning hike, and I had my macro lens and my iPhone. So I took it with my iPhone. And I got down as close to the water as I could. That's why you're seeing so much of the water and not the sky. But anyway, and with an iPhone and a little Photoshop work, you could make a decent photo.
And the gold medal, People's Choice, goes to Gary.
Thank you.
Okay,
I was gonna
like
make-
every...
Wait.
I was going to make just one request. We had only one, but one photo that didn't have the metadata. So when you're submitting, please be sure to leave that involved in the critiques and stuff.
Yeah, some of that depends on the software people use to edit, whether metadata is kept or not, but it is nice if the metadata is left in so that the judges and people looking at the pictures can see some different stuff about the focal length or some of the other settings, which might help them give you some advice on things that could be done differently. I don't know if it's always possible with all the software to always have metadata, but most of them have it. If you don't take it out, try to have it in if you can. So what I bring up every single time is I need judges. I've got one so far. Larry agreed to be a judge, and it'll be your first time, right? And so I need 2 more judges that have judged before. I always like to try to have, if there's someone that wants to try it for the first time, I try to get them paired with 2 experienced judges. So please contact me, and don't feel like, there's going to be so many people knocking down my door trying to judge. Go ahead and send an email anyway, and maybe I'll get at least 1 email with someone else trying to judge. So the next competition is in July. It'll be on the 11th, but all the judging will take place by the 2nd. And it's monochrome photography, and again, everyone should enter pictures that you took within the last 2 years. 1 picture per person. And now I'm asking if there's any other business, but I know that Bill had something he wanted to bring up now.
Coming up the end of August, we have another 5th Thursday. Art Direct, who does printing and framing, is going to do something for us, maybe some demonstrations, and they're talking about hosting at their location, which would be right adjacent to Precision Camera. So that's something to look forward to at the end of August in all of the heat. It will certainly be inside.
Will that be after hours for them? And are they?
It'll be after hours. They'll be open just for us.
Okay.
So as membership coordinator, I want to thank the members for renewing. We had Cody renew. We had Nick Grossman renew. And so thank you for doing that. We also have a new member, Jane Erickson, who was at our social. It was a great social, by the way. We had about 13 people, and we enjoyed the camaraderie, talking a lot about pictures and everything else there. So, Carol? You want to say anything about your program?
I usually do the Opportunity Week, and this weekend is actually Chase the Light. So if anybody's done Chase the Light in the past, you can still sign up. You have to shoot the photos this weekend, and then it's up in Seattle, and what happens is you pay a small fee, and you shoot the photos this weekend, and you send. They usually have a panel of judges who are prominent in the industry, and then they have like a pop-up exhibition, and they do it as a fundraiser. But then after the show is over, you get a print of your work. So it's a small thing to do. It's worthy if you're so inclined. It's called Chase the Light, and you can register for it, and it's worth doing.
Could you send out an email to the membership just with a real quick pointer to what to do?
Sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, sure. Oh, and one other thing, John and his wife had some work at the Imagine show over in Round Rock. They were both accepted, so that they're up in the Imagine in Texas State in Round Rock. So I just wanted to convey it.
Cool.
And I'll just add that on Facebook, I posted a notice that the city of Austin is soliciting photographs to be, and other artwork for the city hall. So if you have a really excellent picture you'd like to have everybody in Austin take a look at, it would be, if it's selected, it would be on display at the city hall. The closing date was the June 30th, I believe. So hope you'll try that one.
People's Gallery.
Any other news or announcements?
We've had some really great photo walks, so anybody interested, make sure you take advantage of them because it helps us find photos and stretch and look at things differently.
And chit chat.
And chit chat, socialize,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Did Wednesday get rained out? Because
Pardon?
What did the Wednesday?
Yeah.
It got
It
rained
didn't
out.
get rained
No.
out.
No, it didn't get rained out.
It was raining, but it
perfect.
went away, and it was windy, and the wind stopped. It was ended up being a really nice morning.
The wind stopped, we had areas that we could get under and not get rained on, and then the rain stopped. The clouds were perfect, you know, that diffuse lighting, we didn't need any diffusers because we had
Rain
cloud
makes
cover.
great images.
Giant diffuser. Yeah, so really I don't know if you're watching up here, but what we're doing is running a slideshow now of images from the photo walks, right? So this is what your membership is producing, and we want to encourage people to get out and join us when you can. Not always on a weekday morning, I know that. Sometimes it's just a matter of you do what you got to do. But insofar as it's possible, we love to have you join us because we have a great time. I want to try to do a downtown walk in maybe a week and a half or so on a Saturday morning, kind of the last outside thing we'll do for a couple months because Texas. So we'll be doing that and then looking for stuff. We've got a lot of plans for the fall. I'm going to try to put it in place as well. And would love to have you join us. More getting out to the small towns around us. That seems to be a big thing. So we want to encourage people to join us on those, and we have some ideas for that as well. Yes, some driving, but often worth it. Ask anybody who went to the painted churches. We had a lot of fun that day. So we'll be doing more of that as we go. But yes, please come join us. We have a great time, and it's an excuse to forget about everything else and just take pictures.
And thanks to you for doing all the organizing.
It's my pleasure. I enjoy it.
All right, so that concludes today's meeting, and we'll see everyone in 2 weeks. And you guys can chit-chat and stuff. We have a lot of stuff to take down before we're done, but if you want to leave, you can leave too.
Ty, thank you very much for making this happen tonight.